Good afternoon, dear students. In the last lectures, we studied about various raw materials that are used for media preparation in fermentation industries. Okay, now what are the different classes of raw materials that are used? Number one, carbohydrate material, which includes saccharine material, fruit juices, whey, molasses, and all. Okay, so saccharine material, then the second class of raw material that was under carbohydrate we have saccharine material, then cellulosic material, then food grains, cereals, root tubers, and that all. Okay, the second class was hydrocarbons and vegetable oils. Now the third class of raw materials that are used are nitrogenous materials. The first example of nitrogenous material is corn steep liquor. What is corn steep liquor? It is the waste extract byproduct resulting from steeping of corn during the manufacture of cornstarch, gluten, and other such corn products. So what is corn steep liquor? It is the water extract byproduct resulting from the steeping of corn during the manufacturing of starch or gluten or other corn products. This byproduct, that this liquid is subjected to concentration so that approximately 50% of the solids result, and the resulting concentrate is known as corn steep liquor. So a watery extract byproduct by steeping of corn is subjected to concentration up to till it contains 50% of solids, and this concentrate is known as corn steep liquor. Now, out of the 50% solids that are present in corn steep liquor, approximately half is lactic acid, and the rest of the components are amino acids, glucose, other reducing sugars, salts, vitamins, and precursors. Okay. Now, if you look at the approximate chemical composition of corn steep liquor by analyzing different types of corn steep liquors, we find that it contains approximately 40 to 60% of solids, out of which 12 to 27% is lactic acid. The total nitrogen content is 7.4 to 7.8% by weight. Amino nitrogen is 2.6 to 3.3% by weight. Reducing sugar is 1.5 to 14% by weight, and ash is 18 to 20%. But there is a considerable variation in the chemical composition of corn steep liquor that is obtained from different starch manufacturers. Therefore, it can lead to poor reproducibility of an industrial fermentation. So, it is necessary to estimate certain components of corn steep liquor. So, before we use corn steep liquor as a raw material, we need to know how much of vitamins, amino acids, and precursors are present in it, because otherwise, if these components, like important components like vitamins, amino acids, and precursors, are present in very less amount, then it will be you can say lead to low levels of low yield of the final product. So since these components are very critical, though they are required in very less quantity, they are very critical. So we need to take care or estimate the components that are present in CSL before it is used as a raw material. And where is corn steep liquor used? It is used in antibiotic productions like penicillin, streptomycin. It is also used in manufacturing of various food stuffs. The second example of nitrogenous material is soybean meal. What is soybean meal? See, soybean oil is prepared, or soybean oil is extracted from soybean seeds. So once the oil has been extracted from soybean seeds, the leftover material, you can say waste, right? So the soybean meal is the leftover material obtained after de-oiling of soybean seeds. Once the oil has been removed and whatever leftover seed fibers are there, it is called as soybean meal. But it contains 8% weight by volume nitrogen. So soybean meal is actually a very complex nitrogenous material as compared to corn steep liquor, and hence it is not readily available to microbes. So it is used as an ingredient, one of the ingredient of fermentation media, say for example in the antibiotic streptomycin production. So it is what is soybean meal? Leftover waste after de-oiling of soybean seeds, and it is a very complex nitrogenous source, and hence it is not readily used by microorganism. So not used frequently, but it is used in, say, one of the ingredients of the raw material, that is in streptomycin production. The third example of nitrogenous material is pharma media. What is pharma media? It is a clean yellow finely ground powder. Okay, it's a clean yellow powder, finely ground powder prepared from the embryo of cotton seeds. Okay, yellow colored finely ground clean powder prepared from the embryo of cotton seeds is called as pharma media. It contains 56% weight by weight protein, 24% carbohydrate, 5% oil and 5% ash. The other components of ash are calcium, phosphorus, iron, chloride and sulfate. This pharma media is used in tetracycline production. Okay. Now the next class of raw materials is distillers soluble. Now what is distillers soluble? See, when we are producing alcohol or ethanol from maize grains, okay, in the manufacture of alcohol from maize grains, alcohol is distilled out from the fermented grains of maize, leaving behind a residue, a waste liquid which contain 6 to 8% weight by volume total solids. Okay. So when we are manufacturing alcohol from maize grains and alcohol is distilled out from the fermented maize grains, leaving behind a residue which contains 6% weight by volume total solids. The suspended solids from these residues are eliminated by screening, leaving the effluent. Okay. So the suspended solids from the liquid residue are removed, okay, by screening, and what you get is a liquid effluent. The effluent is subjected to concentration till the solid content reaches 35% weight by volume. So the liquid effluent is boiled, or you can say evaporated, to get a final, subjected to concentration by evaporation of water, until we get a solid content of 35% weight by volume. And the syrup which is obtained is called as evaporator syrup. This evaporator syrup is then dried, is converted into fine powder by using drum dryers. So the syrup is drum dried to yield a powder which is called as distiller's soluble. So this distiller's soluble is nothing but a drum dried extract or powder obtained from the evaporator syrup that is obtained from during the manufacturing of alcohol from maize grain. So the liquid is evaporated to get 35% weight by volume syrup called as evaporator syrup. The evaporator syrup is dried to get a powder which is called as distiller's soluble. It is used as a component of production media. It supplies nitrogen in the form of proteins together with vitamin B complex. So it's a good source of growth factor like vitamin B complex. At the same time, it is a good source of nitrogen also. The other organic nitrogenous compounds that can be used are groundnut meal, okay, then fish meal, bactopeptone, etc. So peptone is also a very good source of nitrogen. Now, see, there are certain fermentations in which precursors are needed to get the final product. So specific precursors must be supplemented externally for secondary metabolite production medium. Okay, those fermentations in which we are producing secondary metabolites, we need to add certain precursor, or certain precursors are needed, and such precursors must be supplemented externally for secondary metabolite production medium. Some precursors are added to the nutrient medium in the beginning itself, or some need to be added during the course of fermentation. So in that way we have to add either in the beginning or during the course of fermentation in the later stages. Sometimes indeed the raw material that we are using, okay, itself serves as a source of precursor. Say for example, constip liquor itself serves as a source of raw material. Okay, so sometimes indeed media containing desired precursor is selected, but in certain cases we have to add the precursor in a pure form. For example, during penicillin production, phenyl acetic acid is required for the side chain. Okay, the side chain of penicillin G contains phenyl acetic acid. So we need to add phenyl acetic acid in pure form during the course of fermentation. So sometimes the media component itself will be a source of precursor, but sometimes we have to add it in pure form. Why do we add precursor to the medium? To get a good product yield, and a product yield early. So to get good product yield early, we have to add precursor to the medium, and also to reduce the load of the metabolic machinery of the fermenting microbes. Okay. The microorganisms that are used in the fermentation should not have load on their metabolic machinery. So we add a precursor. Is that clear? So precursors are added to the medium to get product yield earlier and to reduce the load on the metabolic machinery of the microorganisms to synthesize the precursor. What are the different types of precursors that are added? The best example is phenylacetic acid, which is added as a precursor in penicillin production. Chloride is added as a precursor in chlorotetracycline production. Cyanide is added as a precursor while using vitamin B12 production, and so on. So these are the different types of raw materials that are required for media preparation. And with this, we finish with the raw materials used.